Welcome to the land of cheese. And by cheese, I mean I got a new work mat, and it looks like cheese now, which is awesome. I just need 2 large slices of bread and I can have a large grilled cheese sandwich. What does wearing a wire mean in the age of cell phones and wireless technology? Not much, probably, but what did it used to mean? In the past, wearing a wire usually referred to a person wearing some type of concealed surveillance device, typically taking part in some sort of clandestine or covert operation. In movies and pop culture, the mere mention of wearing a wire is a great trope to build tension among criminal characters. These covert surveillance devices typically consist of a smallish metallic box that was strapped to an agent or informant with some tape used to adhere the wire antenna and microphone directly to the body. Police or federal agents would wear devices like these near a suspect in order to gather evidence of a crime or to spy on, well, whatever.
What are you guys talking about? Are you talking about who's doing the break-ins? If you know, you can tell me. I won't tell anybody.
Jasmine, are you wearing a wire?
Code Blue! Code Blue!
What the hell is this, a snitchathon?
Surveillance bugs have a pretty rich history going all the way back to the days of the telegraph, but it wasn't until the Cold War that the development of radio surveillance devices really started to take off. So join me today while I dig into the history of covert surveillance devices and learn a little bit about how these inconspicuous little guys work. The device itself is a small black metal box that has a sticker on one side that says LEA, which stands for Law Enforcement Associates, FCC ID B348 PRP-ST1000, model number 7178, serial 32757, and frequency 152.275 MHz. On the side, we have a 4-pin programming port, a small analog jack for an analog microphone, and on the opposite side we have a power switch. On the back we have 2 cutouts for some LEDs, and on the top we have a 4-pin screw-on connector for the combination microphone and antenna. We also have a red button and a green button. I'm not sure the function of those, but we might determine that later. This device is composed of 2 halves that you can slide open, revealing the inner 9-volt battery tray. Overall, that's about it for this thing. Let's hop on over to the FCC ID and the internet and do a little bit of research. The manufacturer of this is Audio Intelligence Devices. We've got a couple different things. We can take a look at the internal photos. So if we tore it down, this is probably what the PCB would look like. If we knew how to read signal charts, this would be pretty useful. And after a couple web searches, I came across a resource called Crypto Museum. And they have a whole list of devices like this, surveillance transmitters, covert bugs, that kind of stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the manufacturer of this one, which is AID, Audio Intelligence Devices. And they've got what looks to be a couple similar looking devices on here. They've got the TX916 and the TX922. And these are listed as 1-watt body transmitter with scrambler, 1-watt 2-channel VHF body transmitter. If we take a look at these, they look pretty similar. So we can see on the top of this, looks very, very similar. Got an on-off switch, microphone, antenna port. If I take it apart, take a look at it. See, that's the inside of that one. That's actually even more similar. Let's see, the 916 is a body wearable covert transmitter developed around 1994 by AID. Output power of a 1-watt, operates on a spot frequency using frequency modulation. For added security, it has a built-in voice scrambler that can be enabled with a slide switch at the side. Also included in the box of surveillance gear was this: a sales catalog for ACT, Advanced Covert Technology Incorporated, specialists in audio and video surveillance equipment. Let's take a look and see what they have for offer. Looks like they've got your standard offerings, the water bottle DVR, your mug DVR, GPS DVR, and your ball cap DVR. Take a look at this guy. He's definitely a trustworthy fella. Some of the other covert surveillance devices they have are the disguised AC cord DVR, pretty devious, and a power outlet, which is significantly worse than the fake outlet sticker. Look at these prices. Some of these are pretty crazy. I mean, just look at this. The ball cap DVR, $1,700. $1,700. Ooh, the Nagra $10 bill audio recorder. Wow. $4,400. 23 hours, 4 gigabyte memory stick, built-in microphone. Wonder how they get away with that. This actually reminds me of one of my favorite examples of a covert surveillance device, which is The Thing. The Thing was a passive resonant listening device, meaning that it had no power supply or active components and required illumination by a transmitter. Shortly before the end of World War II, the Soviet Union gifted the US ambassador a carving of the United States Great Seal as a gesture of friendship. This Great Seal unknowingly contained The Thing. The Thing's design consisted of what is essentially a tiny capacitive membrane connected to an antenna. The device being passive meant that Soviet spies had to use a separate transmitter to illuminate or induce the bug remotely. Any speech in the room would affect the diaphragm and in turn modulate the reflection of the illuminating signal. Think of it like striking a tuning fork with directed microwaves and listening to the resonance that it produces. Simple, right? In practice, one Soviet agent would simply have a listening device nearby tuned to the reflected frequency to covertly listen in on while another agent in another location would simultaneously induce the Thing with the directed transmission. The Great Seal and the Thing hung in the embassy building undiscovered for years. It wasn't discovered until 7 years later when a British radio operator accidentally heard American conversations on a Soviet Air Force channel. The discovery of the Thing and subsequent reverse engineering practically started a covert surveillance arms race.
He tells how the Soviet planted a listening device in America's Moscow embassy, concealed inside a wooden carving of the Great Seal, presented as a gift by the Russians.
Go ahead, open it up. And here is the clandestine listening device.
Another interesting fact, the gentleman who created the Thing was none other than the man who invented the theremin, Leon Theremin. Leon returned to Russia shortly before World War II, where he was unfortunately imprisoned and forced to devise the aforementioned Thing that would later spy on the American embassy. Quite a fitting device for his expertise, I would say. So let's go ahead and hook up an SDR, which is a software-defined radio, and we're going to power this up and give it a listen. Find it on the waterfall, see what it looks like, and for that I'm going to be using an RTL SDR, and I've got a whip antenna that conveniently came with these units, labeled 150 to 162, so this should be the right frequency range for these transmitters. I'm going to go ahead and plug this up. I got a 9 volt, gonna see how spicy that is. Yep, that is spicy, still good. And I will go ahead and put this in, and we'll see what this thing does. Immediately we can see some LEDs come on the front. I'll go ahead and close this up. Alright, I'm going to run a piece of software called GQRX. GQRX. Alright, we're going to come up here to this button up here to configure our SDR. Make sure that our SDR is selected up here. We're going to be using this Realtek RTL 2838 device. And you don't have to configure any of this stuff, it should automatically detect what it is. And then if we hit play, we can start to listen to the waterfall and the radio spectrum. Now first what we're going to do is we're going to tune this to the frequency on our device, which is going to be 152.275 megahertz. Let's do 152 to 75. Okay, and then we'll hit play. Alright, sorry, a couple things about GQRX. Down the bottom right, we have our audio output control. So when you're reviewing the spectrum, you can listen to it as audio waveform, and that'll be shown down here. You can adjust the gain for that with this slider, and you can also mute it, record it, and transmit it over UDP sockets. I typically set this to mute just because I don't want it to blow out my ears when I start listening to the spectrum. So what we can do is set that to mute or reduce the gain, and then we'll hit play, and you'll start to see our waterfall move. And we can see a couple frequencies over here coming out through the background. Up here at the top right, we can set the cutoff filter and the cutoff filter shape. And we can also set the demodulation mode right here. We can turn demodulation off. We can set it to raw IQ, AM, LSB, USB, all these other different settings. If we remember back to the documents that we read, the old transmitters were narrow FM, so we can check that out and see if that's actually what's required to demodulate it. Let's go ahead and leave demod off for now. And we'll leave all these settings as they are. And let's turn on this transmitter and give it a listen. Alright, so as you can see, that's pretty hot. And I'm just going to go ahead and set this over here on my other desk so that signal's not attenuated by my metal workbench. Let's see if we can get our FFT settings zoomed in. Let's see, frequency zoom. If you're not familiar with a waterfall, the x-axis on this graph is the frequency. The y-axis up here is the dB or intensity. And down here in the waterfall section, the intensity shows as a color change and the frequency shows as a movement left and right. So as I talk, you can see how the frequency adjusts left and right. So that kind of gives you a clue that this is going to be frequency modulated data. We go back to the receiver options over here and we change our mode to narrow FM. We might be able to start listening to this. And there we go. And I'll go ahead and mute my other microphone.
Hello, hello, 1 2 1 2. So it's really not that bad of a microphone either.
Cool. So it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. It is not encrypted, it's not encoded with anything. It's just straight up FM modulated voice data, voice signal. Okay, so while I've got this going, let's go ahead and mess around with some of the buttons on here, and we can figure out what these do. So it looks like when you push this green button on the top, this LED starts flashing. You push it again and it stops flashing, so maybe that's kind of like an indicator of battery life or whether it's actually got a battery in it. And this red button doesn't seem to do anything. Let's go ahead and turn it on. Let's look at it under the waterfall and see if these buttons do anything to it. I'm just going to push this button really quick. This is going to be the green one. Oh, and I actually see a new component to the signal now. Now there's this little kind of line going on right here. I wonder what that's for. And then if I turn it off, does that go away? Yep, so it's like an extra like sideband or something. Sorry, it does not like being on my desk or my workbench. And what about if let's listen to it real quick. Oops. It doesn't seem like that does anything to the audio. Okay, what about this red button? Oh, that one's interesting. So I wonder if this is kind of like an identify unit or identify the device. So if you have multiple bugs, you can like listen to them and then push this button and figure out which one's which. Okay, so that's what the red button does. Alright, so I want to take a look at this little dude in comparison, how much smaller they are. And these are effectively the same device. And on the outside, we've got a frequency 166.5, FCC ID 1P9CST702/V. We've got an antenna, got the microphone, and a power connector. which is a very unusual power connector. Normally you don't see kind of like screw down power terminals like that. But on the back we've also got some Velcro, which is kind of interesting. So this is definitely meant to be stuck to something. And on the bottom, I believe we have a tiny electrolyte microphone, built-in microphone. So let's go ahead and take a look at this one as we do on fccid.io. And that's not going to come up with anything. Look up the surveillance transmitter. CST703. What is this? IP9. Is that 9 and not a 1? 1P9? That's definitely a 1. Oh yeah, it looks like this is for a company called Tactical Technologies. They're also another manufacturer that makes surveillance gear and kind of tactical gear for police departments, fire departments, first responders, that kind of stuff. Let's see, do they have it in here? IP9, UST701. Oh, this one's got some documents with it. Okay, let's take a look at the internal photos. Yep, that looks to be about what we've got. Got those 3 connectors, sort of. Miniature 1-channel synthesized VHF voice transmitter. Standard operation between 150 and 174. 703 comes with an external antenna, internal microphone. Can be installed in a wide variety of disguises. Speaking of disguises, I guess that's where this comes in. That's right. This transmitter belongs to a spy hat. If you take a look at the inside, we can see that we've got a strap to hold some stuff down. And we've got space for some cables. And a nice antenna that seems to fit appropriately to our transmitter. So I'll go ahead and attach that really quick and plug this microphone in. And then we'll need our power cable. And of course this one operates on a 9-volt battery as well. If you get it all arranged properly, you should have something that looks a lot like this. And you'll have your battery in there as well. And you kind of put that on your head. And you're gonna have your microphone poke out through the hole. There. None the wiser. Normal hat. So you can walk around and do drug busts or something, whatever the cops do. Okay, so let's go ahead and repeat the same thing that we did on the last one in our SDR. This time we're going to tune it to 166.50 and give this one a listen.
Test 1 2 1 2. Alright, so I think this one is a much better example of frequency modulation. So you can see as I talk, my voice clearly makes the frequency increase and decrease. Pretty obvious on the waterfall.
As you can see, this one's a pretty good example of frequency modulation. This one doesn't have as many fancy buttons as the other transmitter, so I don't think there's too much else to play with. Well, that's it. Thanks for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed this and learned a couple things. If you did, go ahead and feel free to leave me a like down below. If you want to see more videos like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon if you want to get notified. I just want to say thanks to my YouTube and Patreon members because their support is what allows me to do this type of work and make stupid purchases like this. So if you want to support this channel and keep seeing me make stuff like this, then take a look at the description. You can find some links where you can become a member yourself. Also, a big shout out to cryptomuseum.com. I intend to donate a couple of these over to those folks over there so that they can take them apart and include them into their online museum. And I'll see you next time. Bye!